League, and you should copy this diagram down into your exercise box. So one of the league bodies was the Assembly. This met once a year. All members of the League of Nations had representation in the Assembly, so it was quite democratic. 47 members, that was the 47 initial members of the League, were in the first Assembly, and every country was represented in the League Assembly. It didn't meet very often, however. It met once per year, the League Assembly, and its powers were somewhat limited. It could decide on some issues, such as membership of the League. Something else about the League Assembly was that all decisions in the League Assembly had to be unanimous. That is, if the League was going to take any decision that the Assembly had to vote on, it had to get 100% of the votes for the League to take any action. Now, in a way, this is a good thing. It means that any decision taken by the Assembly, all members of the Assembly agree. However, it's in practice very difficult to get member nations from many different nations with many different interests all to agree on something and to vote all together. Another part of the League was the Council, and it's been placed above the Assembly for a reason. This consisted of more powerful and dominant members of the League, and obviously the USA wasn't there, hadn't joined the League, and neither had the USSR. So the League Council, when the League was born, consisted of Britain, France, Italy and Japan as permanent members. Other non-permanent members were there on a changing basis every year. Germany would later join the League Council too. Now this met when necessary, so this is going to be the thing that really responds to crises in the world, the Council, not the Assembly. This met on average about 4 or 5 times a year, and this really was where the real power of the League lay, with the Council, not with the Assembly. Like the Assembly, though, any decision that the Council took had to be unanimous. That was because any member of the League Council could veto. So if one member voted against a decision, it wouldn't get passed. Again, this could potentially stop the Council from coming to any decision which is against the interests of any member of the Council. They could use their veto. The Secretariat of the League was the civil service of the League. You've got a clue as to its functions when you look at the shape of the word Secretariat. It looks like secretary. It was the office workers, the paper workers of the League. They would do things like arrange meetings and do all of the paperwork. This did have a problem though, because it didn't really ever have enough members. So it took a long time to do anything, to process the paperwork. It was very slow. The Secretariat was rather slow. There were other things that the League of Nations was associated with. These were the commissions of the League of Nations and the committees of the League of Nations. And this is where the League did have some measure of success, as you will see. So, what commissions were there? There was the Mandates Commission. This was supposed to look over the mandates. Remember, the former colonies of Germany and Turkey were supposed to be being looked after by Britain and France until they could achieve independence. So the mandates were supposed to make sure that Britain and France looked after the needs of these areas rather than the interests of just Britain and France. There was also the Disarmament Commission. The aim of that obviously was to ensure that countries around the world disarmed. And the Slavery Commission. This certainly did meet with a lot of success. And slavery was still a significant problem in the world of the early 20th century. Committees of the League. These actually survived the death of the League of Nations when the League of Nations failed, and they're now part of the modern United Nations. So the Health Organisation was one of the committees of the League. Again, you'll see it had some success. Now it's called the World Health Organisation. There was also the International Labour Organisation. This was supposed to ensure fair working conditions around the world. And that's